Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga has confirmed that Gauteng e-tolls will be scrapped by Friday. This means that motorists won't have to pay going forward. But Chikunga says people are still liable for outstanding debts.
On the issue related to debt, in terms of the law, the motorists are still obligated to pay. That's an obligation in terms of the law. On how we'll enforce or not enforce, that's a matter that we have not discussed. We'll be attending to that as time goes on. But otherwise, in terms of the existing law, there's an obligation that those who have used the road up until tomorrow, they will have to pay. But of course, if there are challenges, that's the matter that we'll be looking into.
Staying with this story, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, that's OUTA for short, has welcomed the scrapping of e-tolls. Its executive director of Accountability Division, Stephanie Fick, says the minister should provide answers, though, on where the 30% to be paid by the Gauteng government will come from.
30% of an amount, and if you look at that amount, which is then the 43 billion, where does that come from? And we also need to take into account that the reason why the amount is, or part of why the amount is so high, is because the construction, the collusion and the corruption when the road was built in the first rate went out of hand, and Sanral was unable to curb those costs. So a road that was supposed to cost way less than 9 billion cost us 18, 19 billion. And now people are expected to pay back that debt. It's just unfair. Yeah. And then the collection costs. Initially it was supposed to be 4 billion. That was double after the contract was signed. Just as ridiculous.
All right, let's discuss this now. Sanral CEO is Reginald Demana. He joins us now for an in-depth discussion about some of the issues that need clarity. Mr. Demana, thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with that of motorists who are still indebted. In other words, they may have received a statement, and I'm one of those who received it via email. Are we obligated to pay that, or is it actually the other way around? Because there was a promise, even though it was denied today, there was a promise that instead of being forced to pay this outstanding debt, we would actually be compensated for paying e-tolls in the first place. Which is it?
Yeah, good evening, Xoli, and to the viewers at large. The minister was very clear that in terms of law, those who have incurred the debt by using the road are still having that debt to pay. A decision on whether any refunds will be made or any debt will be written off has not yet been made by our political principals, being national government. And once that decision has been made, we will communicate accordingly. But as things stand in terms of law, you incur the debt, you are obligated to pay.
If you don't pay, are you going to be prosecuted?
Well, I really can't say. Otherwise, we send statements and people decide what to do with those. We haven't been prosecuting since 2019, as you know, and we have not decided how that will be treated going forward. I will imagine it will be part of the overall decision to be made. Are there refunds, no refunds? How do we pursue debt? How hard do we pursue? And which mechanisms do we use? It is still to be decided on. The Premier did say that it's a matter on which we will need to consult affected and interested stakeholders, including the public, on how best do we take this forward. And I think we will take that course.
Yeah. Let's talk about the gantries. What happens to those? There is a constant refrain, and that is that they are going to be used to assist in crime fighting. How so?
Yes, certainly. The gantries, as you know, have got camera technology that is able to to read number plates. That will continue to be the case. It means then we can start tracing stolen vehicles, for example. It means we can also look at footage that we collect using the cameras. So crime fighting and law enforcement become very useful. Hijack incidences, theft incidences on the highway, we currently use that to monitor traffic, as well as when we are subpoenaed by SAPS, we do provide them with evidence as required from time to time. But I think we will then intensify the use of data using the information we collect via the gantries. Yeah. Other things we will consider is average speed over distance, where you start looking at speeding between gantries. And if people are found to be wanting, the prosecutions will follow. So there are many other things we can do going forward using the gantry technology.
All right, so they remain a permanent feature on Gauteng's freeways. Who services them, though?
The gantries and the roads remain a property of Sanral. They are national assets. And of course, as you know, Sanral is a state-owned entity under the Department of Transport. So they are national assets owned, operated, and maintained by Sanral.
There is the outstanding debt of 30%, and that question was posed to the officials today to say who will be responsible for this debt, and perhaps more importantly, where will the money come from?
Yeah, maybe let me just take one step back. The debt, of course, 70% is taken care of by national government via national treasury. 30% is what Gauteng province has agreed to pay. Gauteng province has approached a number of financial institutions to raise that. MEC Mamabolo, the MEC of Finance, is responsible for that, and he can provide more detail. What we do know from the pronouncements they've made even today at the media briefing is that they are progressing with those processes, and they are quite in advance, but you can direct a question to them to get the details of where and when they will be able to secure that.
All right. That's the CEO of Sanral, Reginald Demana, explaining to us there that we are still obligated to pay whatever fees that we have been charged going under the gantries if you've used the highways in the recent past. Well, that is that then. Okay.